Many think that global warming is caused by humans producing too much CO2, and many believe that it is a natural process having nothing to do with the input from humans.
After many scientific studies using Earth samples, scientists have come to many different conclusions about the cause of global climate change.
Global warming is caused by a natural process that has been occurring in Earth's atmosphere since the beginning of time. The amount of pollutants that humans extract into the air have a very low percentage compared to the natural amount that is circulated throughout the Earth's atmosphere.
The dictionary defines climate change as a periodic modification of Earth's climate brought about as a result of changes in the atmospheric as well as interactions between the atmosphere and various other geological, chemical, biological, and geographic factors within the Earth system.
Global warming is an increase in the average temperature of Earth's atmosphere, especially a sustained increase sufficient to cause climate change. This explains why climate change is completely natural and not man-made.
Man-made CO2 accounts for only 4 to 5%, which could not drastically change the Earth's temperatures.
S.N. High says that the Earth is at the peak of its climate cycle that began 25,000 years ago. He believes that in the next 10 to 20 years, Earth will begin a new climate cycle and start to cool.
This is another fact that disproves global warming is man-made. If humans account for only 5% of the CO2 in the atmosphere, they could not possibly cause climate change.
In an interview with a Canadian professor of climatology, Dr. Timothy Ball, he explains that there is no doubt that Earth is warming, but it is something that has been happening over 18,000 years.
Ball says that there was a period of cooling from 1940 to 1980, and skeptics at that time believed that cooling was going to continue, just as today people believe that warming is going to continue.
He states that you can pick any period of time and see a climate trend. That is something that is normal on Earth.
Air pollution and global warming are scientifically separate issues. Emissions of carbon dioxide are not a cause of global climate change. Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. It is essential for all life.
The vast surface area of the oceans determines the interchange of gases between the atmosphere and the oceans. The deadly pollutant of dust, acid gases, and water vapor entering the atmosphere in the many world cities adds to the heat island effect.
The main cause of global climate change is the full spectrum of radiation of the sun, the varying in the sun's orbit of the Earth around the sun, and the varying gravitational influence of their larger planets on the sun, and the influence of cosmic radiation on both the sun and the Earth.
This is something that could not be affected by humans. It is a process that is in outer space and not influenced by humans at all.
This graph shows that through the earliest times when humans were not producing CO2, the Earth was going through climate changes.
In the graph above, there are varied lengths of how long the Earth is heated and how long it cooled. This makes it obvious that global warming or climate change could not be caused by humans because the Earth's climate has been changing for years.
Hi, B. I'm Hallie Lockhart.
Hi, Hallie.
We just wanted to ask you a few questions today.
Okay, go ahead.
So what is your guys' position on global warming?
Well, I work for Rabobank, and we are involved in really agriculture, and so the impact that global warming could have on agriculture is really big.
So what are some of the impacts that it has had?
So one of the things that people believe they're seeing with global warming is that there are big swings in the weather. And so whether that's a pattern or whether that's global warming, what we know is that we are having more storms, more severe storms, more flooding. So that's going to have an impact on agriculture, both from prices of agriculture and on the backside of that, because some folks do believe that their emissions is what is causing this, there's going to be a lot more regulation. So what we see happening is a volatility in the pricing within the market.
And by agriculture, you mean what do you mean by agriculture?
Agriculture is the agriculture that we're concerned about are the production of all the food that you eat. So that's what we look at is how are people producing crops, how are people using those crops even to feed animals, and what impact is that going to have on the price of all the consumer goods that are out there.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we have. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thanks. Bye.
Some scientists on the site stopglobalwarming.org say if humans don't reduce their carbon emissions, the Earth is headed for extreme temperatures, rises in sea levels, and storms of unimaginable destructive fury.
The site states that Americans produce 22% of greenhouse gas emissions, and this, combined with all other countries that are producing too many CO2 emissions, are causing the polar ice caps to melt and ocean levels to rise. The site warns that if sea level continues to rise, it will cause devastating flooding to many cities and countries.
The site continues that if we don't stop global climate change, then many diseases will spread. The site claims that because global warming is being accelerated by humans, catastrophe shifts in weather patterns have occurred.
Another study by David Adams focused on CO2 levels in Hawaii. David found the CO2 levels in Hawaii are 40% above what they are during the Industrial Revolution. The annual mean growth rate for 2007 was 2.14 ppm, the fourth year in the past 6 to see an annual rise greater than 2 ppm. From 1970 to 2000, the concentration rose by 1.5 ppm each year, but since 2000, the annual rise has leapt to an average 2.1 ppm. The scientist states that if high amount of CO2 continues to be produced, the trees and oceans will not be able to absorb all the CO2, causing it to be trapped in the atmosphere and speed up the process of global warming. This study does account for the natural amount that CO2 is being voiced in the world.
From an article in the Environmental Science and Context Journal, the author states that humans are creating global warming and climate change by cutting down forests, increasing the burning of fossil fuels, and increasing methane and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. The author states that in 1750, CO2 was present in the atmosphere about 280 parts per million, ppm. That is 280 out of every 1 million molecules in a typical volume of air were CO2. By 2008, atmospheric CO2 was up to 385 ppm, an increase of 37.5% over pre-industrial times. They claim that because there is more CO2, the Earth is heating up more rapidly than it should.
The author then states, anthropogenic emissions of CO2 come from three major sources. The first is burning of fossil fuels such as oil, gasoline, natural gas, and coal. Fossil fuels account for 77% of global anthropogenic CO2 emissions. The second major source of deforestation, about 20% of global CO2 emissions, are caused by processes other than fuel burning, such as the release of CO2 during cement manufacture, where calcium carbonate, CaCO3, is heated to drive off CO2 and leaves CaO. The article states that because of this, all the extra CO2 is being emitted. Oceans are getting more acidic, the polar ice caps are melting and raising sea levels, and will eventually cause the extinction of many plants and animals. This is the only scientific study that was found that accounted for natural climate change.
All of this evidence showing that global warming is natural comes from records of climate change from the past and the present.
These scientists explain all the ways that an increase or decrease in CO2 could affect our climate. These scientists take into account that climate change and variation in temperatures was happening before humans populated our globe.
The scientists that claim that global warming is man-made do not account for many scientific facts, such as the small percentage of human activity that actually contributes to the entire Earth's CO2, or the long-term history of the Earth's climate.
It would seem that scientists who have us believe that global warming is man-made only look at science from the perspective that is convenient for their argument.
Yay. Woo! Boom! That was faster than our first one.
I fall down my head. We have sound like this. Okay, scoot that way just a little. That's good. Affect our climate. If there are any causes, these scientists. Damn it. Okay, maybe we should do a read through.
Yeah. Wait, we can just cut that part out. Okay. Okay. All this evidence showing that global warming is natural comes from... Okay. Okay, wait. Let's just
Okay,
try
just-
starting. Okay. Okay.
Stop, this is so hard.
How bad?
I don't know, I like sat on a stick or something.
Okay. Okay. We can cut that part out. Okay. All this.
So I make a 4-minute long video of us trying not to laugh.
I don't think that. All this evidence showing that global.
Dang it. I tried so hard not to laugh that time. These scientists explain all the ways that an increase or decrease in CO2 could affect our climate, if there are any. I take
All this evidence showing that global warming is natural comes from records.
somebody's calling me. Hello?
We're never gonna finish.
In the backyard.
Stop global climate change. Malaria. But because global warming is being accelerated by humans, catastrophe shifts in weather patterns have occurred.